Well, hello, and welcome back to Wisdom Wednesday. It is November 1st, and we are in the first proverb of the book of Proverbs, written by Solomon, a collection of sayings of Solomon and some other individuals throughout Hebraic history, a collection of riddles, of truths spoken in a pattern that allows us to kind of parse through it, deep dive into it, and begin to understand. Proverbs 1 begins with this notion, and I'll first off apologize. I just don't have a Bible with me here in the car as I'm recording this, so I'm going to be paraphrasing more so Proverbs 1 than I am directly reading from it, as I normally do. But we find in Proverbs 1, the very beginning, as Solomon is writing, he's writing, and we see the intent of what the purpose of the collection of Proverbs is. It's for those who are willing to look into, reflect, consider, think about, and understand the riddles and the words that are spoken to apply to our lives for the purpose of being better in our own lives, being better for other people, and also for gaining success. And we have various views as to what success means and whatnot. But as you read through Proverbs, depending on what area of life you're looking to gain wisdom in, Solomon has wisdom and advice to share with us from these perspectives, be it relationships, be it parenting, be it business, be it work, be it money, be it farming, be it just general life attempts to become more kind of established in the things that are happening. And so when we read through Proverbs, we read it with this context that it is for us to be able, it's an invitation to solve these riddles and to apply them to our life. He says famously in Proverbs chapter 1 that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of all knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And this fear is not this fear of the Lord. It is a reverence, a deep respect for the Lord that brings us to this place of finding reverence, wisdom, knowledge, and insight from who the Lord is, his very character, and the goodness that we've seen. And further, this means that when we study the book of Proverbs together on a Wisdom Wednesday, or as you do so each day of the week, cracking open the book of Proverbs and reading the correlating day, or however that works for you, that we would do so with the mindset where we are asking the Lord to speak to us as we go through it, where he would actually instruct us in these ways of wisdom. Solomon goes on shortly after that to explain how as children we should be listening to our parents, and as parents we should be instructing our children, and that the instruction of the wisdom of our parents is something that we should strive to understand. Now that can be very challenging. I don't know about you, but I've been a son. I've been a kid. I'm sure you've been a kid. I'm sure some of you have kids, or you've had experiences where people have given you really good wisdom and you just totally and completely ignored it. You didn't hear it as good wisdom when it came in. Or maybe someone has said something that you saw as wisdom, but when you progressed through what they said, it turned out to be absolute disaster for you. And we find this often in life, and Solomon is really real about that in the first proverb here. He says that as we lean into the things of the wise, that we will learn and we will grow in them. And he said, but sometimes we fall into the traps where people say wise things, but in the end it just leads to death. And so I want to encourage you today that as wisdom comes, as advice is given, that you would take time to reflect, slow down, think, and consider what was said. Having mentors is a really important element of what it means to have success in life. In fact, in Proverbs, it tells us that many advisors make a plan successful, and without a vision, our plans can fail. And so we need to ensure that we have the right advisors around us for the success of the plans that we have in our heart. And what we see in Proverbs chapter 1 is that Solomon says that sometimes these advisors we bring around us are good and other times they are not. And so we need to take moments to assess the vision and the advisors that we have. To go, is this a life that I'm trying to replicate, or a process I'm trying to replicate? And it's okay to have mentors in business that are different than your mentors in marriage. And that's okay. And you should have multiple mentors, and you should have people that you're looking up to in various areas where you might not want exactly what they have, but you want to extract the knowledge and the principles that come with it. And this is how we gain wisdom and understanding as we assess and we think and we look and we apply and we reject some things and accept other things. In fact, a little further down in Proverbs chapter 1, Solomon talks about that wisdom calls out in the streets, that wisdom is available, not hidden, not recessed. We don't need to go on a 45-day journey to some obscure location. Wisdom is all around. In God's very creation, we find wisdom. In the very image bearers of God, people, we find the wisdom and knowledge that God has granted and given people. And it's a matter of extracting understanding and applying those things, just as Solomon says, that it is for those who would seek out and understand these riddles. So I want to encourage you today to be slow. There are moments where we want to rush into and jump into the advice that we've been given. But sit down, take a moment, and think through what that advice is. In the personal finance world, there's this concept where essentially if there's something you really want, you write it down on a piece of paper and you wait 3 days. And if you still really want it, then it might be worth buying. But if we only want it for that first 10 minutes that we see it in the store, it's probably a waste of money. And so the same is true with advice. When you receive it, sit with it, think about it, look at the life of the one who gave it. Sometimes we can reach out to advice for people that are like, hey, I don't like anything that's going on in your life. Tell me what you did so I can avoid all of it. And other times we ask advice of people who have lives that we want to see mildly replicated in our own. Think about these things, slow down, write them out. And when you move with intention, not leaping from one fad to the next, but moving with purposed intention, with a reverence towards the Lord, as he is the giver of all wisdom. So bless you with that today. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you think about it and continue to read through the book of Proverbs, applying wisdom to your life. We'll see you next week.